but then we can, no problem, sir. We would be getting introduced later while we speak on the question and answer session. So I would start with the topic, sir. I would just start with the topic. We have, 5 topics. And as I said, that around about 10 minutes each topic with 2 minutes for each speaker. If you could just be brief, sir, because we need to, end this within 1 hour, 15 minutes or 1 hour, 30 minutes. Thanks a lot, sir. So the topic for today is, Kashmir, a pipe dream for KPs, or is it time to build bridges back? No, why this topic has been okay. I'm very sorry. I have not introduced Sunil Trisalji. Okay, he's just pointed with us out. Sunilji is a very experienced corporate person. He has more than 25 years of experience. He's worked in top IT companies, including HCL, and he would be presenting the KP entrepreneur's point of view to us today. So he would be presenting the KP entrepreneur's point of view. Thanks a lot, Sunil Trisalji, for joining us. So the first, as I get going, the reason why we chose this topic, Kashmir still a pipe dream for KPs, or is it time to build bridges back, is one that abrogation of 370, sir. Abrogation of Article 370 was a very welcome move. I welcomed it. The entire Kashmiri Pandit community really welcomed it. And we welcome Mara. Anil Bhattji has joined us. Thank you, sir. We were waiting for you. You're on mute, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. So the reason everybody celebrated this great event of removal of Article 370, but the thing is, have we really got what we really wanted after 1 year of abrogation of Article 370, or is it just on paper at the moment, wherein people are the entire community is not very enthusiastic at the moment? Because if you ask anybody, they would say it was a good move, but then what today, what is the status of what is the status for the KP community today? So that's the reason why we actually took this topic. Now, the first thing I would, the topic is, in which way did the abrogation of Article 370 bridge the gaps, in the Kashmir Valley, because of which we actually got migrated. So I just wanted to know, has the abrogation of Article 370 really helped Kashmiri Pandit community on ground at the moment, or do you feel that there is still a very long way to go, on this road? So I would just like to ask, Mr. Sushilji, if you could just, this is just an introduction topic. So if you could just help us with your views as to, have we reached a destination, or is the journey very long? Because there are a lot of people who are very disgusted at the moment, very disappointed as to that we have not reached anywhere. So, sir, if you could just start the topic, if you can just remove the mute, sir, if you can unmute yourself. Thank you.
Namaskar to everyone, and congratulations to Abhinavji for initiating this interaction. It is a great privilege to be talking to a set of young entrepreneurs from the community who are wealth creators and who are equally concerned about the community, its future, its collective challenges and opportunities. Your specific question is, how has Article 370 helped, and has it helped at all? What is happening? I could respond by giving you a small example. Kashmir has been in adverse possession. Like a property, like a piece of land, say your own home, there was an adverse possession sanctified by the system, and that system was Article 370. So somebody had trespassed into your home and evicted you from there, and it had legal sanction to it. Article 370 provided that legal sanction. What happened last year on August 5 and 6 was as if a court gave you a decree that this adverse position is no longer valid. Now you have a decree in your hand, but on ground, the possession is still in adverse hands. The legal sanction, the framework within which you were dispossessed, has been demolished with the neutering of Article 370. That is what this decision is all about. But this decree in your hands is not worth the paper it is on if you do not go and claim that possession back from the adversary. So on ground, the possession continues as it was before August 5. On ground, the stranglehold of jihad in Kashmir is intact. In fact, on ground, since this decree, the adversary has manipulated the system and has begun to do some paperwork in order to fortify his position. And I'm referring to domicile. I'm referring to delimitation. I am referring to the eagerness to kickstart the democratic process on ground, and through which legitimize the old, discarded, discredited political leadership of Kashmir, which was originally responsible for our plight. So while this Article 370, which literally gave legitimacy to jihad in Kashmir, is out of the window, it is sought to be brought in from the back door clandestinely, surreptitiously, through other measures, in order to undo the advantages that have accrued to us through August 5 and 6 decisions. So in sum and substance, that is where we were. I sometimes begin to wonder, was August 5 a cosmetic exercise to quieten the clamor which had grown up into a crescendo as to what are you going to do about Article 370? Which had begun to put a question mark on the sincerity of our present leadership with respect to this commitment to the nation. So was August 5 just an exercise in deception to lull us into believing that yes, something is done and something is going to be done on ground? But at the same time, simultaneously, you start doing things which will undo the very decision of August 5.
Absolutely.
So
Thank
we have a predicament which I think I couldn't have
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
given you with more clarity.
Really summed it very well and in very brief, which is great, sir. Thank you. I would now like Strangu Saab, this is my first interaction with him normally. So it's so nice to speak with him. Strangu Saab, just let me know. I won't ask you exactly the same question what I asked Sushilji, because he has made it amply very clear. I would just like to ask a follow-up question. When you say that it was maybe a cosmetic decision, as Sushil Pandit say, it looks like, it is a great decision. Then you require really guts to actually do what you did. But then, is this a bad follow-up? Is this something related to the bureaucracy that is prevalent in the state, which somehow is not very interested to follow up on what the government has done in terms of removal of abrogation of Article 370. So is something to do with bureaucracy? I mean, are we to say that maybe that bureaucracy has to be outsourced to Delhi, and wherein Delhi would take care of the complete bureaucracy maybe for 1 year or 2 years, and eventually and hand it over back after the J&K bureaucracy is cleansed, and so that the domicile thing is completely done. And what do you think, that maybe on ground things are not working as they should have ideally been with abrogation of Article 370?
For me to answer your question, one thing needs to be understood by all of us. Article 370 was a device to create a Muslim state on the territory of secular India. The premises on which Article 370 was created was the same premise on which the Pakistan was created. Pakistan was created on the argument that wherever Muslims are a majority, they constitute a separate nation and they cannot live within a secular dispensation. They have to have a separate nation. Article 370 said that since Jammu and Kashmir is a Muslim majority state, it cannot have the same constitutional dispensation as the rest of the country. So in actual essence, the premise on which Pakistan was made was the basic premise on which the special status J&K state was made. It was a cardinal contradiction. Creating a Muslim state on the territory of a secular nation was a cardinal contradiction which the leadership of this country nourished. Entire political class of India was responsible for it, with a few exceptions of some leaders who did point out. But subsequently, across the spectrum, everybody started being comfortable with this reality. Ambedkar did point out, Shama Prasad Mukherjee did point out, there were some Muslim leaders who pointed out the great dangers of this whole experimentation. So in a way, we had been living in a Muslim state, and all of us did not recognize this reality. We did not face this reality. Article 370 was the continuation of Pakistan movement on the territory of India. Now, the moment you realize this fact, the moment you face this fact, then you realize what ultimately created the entire process of Muslimization, fundamentalization, its militarization, and then genocide. If any one of us, because all of us are victims, if we trivialize the situation in which we were living in and have perspectives which internalize the tragedy in a way that we put the blame on our own selves, we'll be committing suicide. You see, in all the genocidal processes, after the genocide happens, the perpetrators unleash a process, what is called as denial of genocide, simultaneously. And they want to transform the victims into victimizers. And that is what we have to guard against. We don't have to build any bridges. The bridges were broken by somebody else. A new system has to be conceived. Visualizing our survival in terms of basic survival needs is not a pipe dream. It's an existential necessity. It's an existential imperative. So for all of us, it's very important to understand that we have passed through a very, very grave crisis. Because of our collective effort, we have survived it. And we have survived with our sanity intact. The type of tragedy in which we were caught up, people disintegrate, communities disintegrate. It has not happened. If you people have gone through what happened in Punjab during the Punjab terrorism, around 500,000 people were displaced there also. What happened to that population mass? There are many documentaries made where they say that a large percentage of those people ended up in prostitution centers. And here we were face to face with a colossal isolation. Congress thought that we were just a cosmetic secular appendage. We don't have a value more than that. Socialists and the social justice parties thought that we are Brahmins. We represent the apex of the caste hierarchy which they have to dismantle. BJP thought that we are the extension of Nehru. And since Nehru was the responsible for everything, so Kashmiri Pandits were to be blamed for their own plight. And Muslims thought that we were, the Muslim separatists, Muslim fundamentalists thought that we were a continuity of the civilization of India. We were the continuity of the political entity which came into existence after 47, which they wanted to dismantle. So for the Muslim establishment, destroying Kashmiri Pandits was a priority. For the political class of India, protecting Kashmiri Pandits was the last priority. It was in this type of a crisis which we are caught. And the moment you start visualizing your survival battles, you will visualize that despite this colossal isolation, we have survived. I will again use the word, we have survived with decency, we have survived with grace, we have survived with our sanity intact. Having said this thing.
So you're on mute.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. I want to tell you one thing, that all of us, it's my request to all of you, do not try to internalize. Please, there are dangers of internalizing the crisis. A step was taken by Government of India. They dismantled the legal entity of the Muslim state. But the Muslim state was not only created by the legal entity. It was created by a whole plethora of other measures, which I call as de facto Muslim state. Sushilji mentioned, say, for example, he mentioned delimitation. A faulty delimitation creating Muslim hegemony. It was not written in Article 370. It was an understanding between the political leadership of India and the Kashmiri Muslims. So what I'm trying to say is that a gate has been opened. A basic legal structure has been dismantled, but the Muslim state still exists. And that is what has to be dismantled.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Kuldeep ji, I would just like to go towards you after this. I would just like to ask you, with all the comments Ajay ji has made, that about the ground situation, how this issue had actually come about. I would just like to ask you one thing, sir. Now, if we say that, what is the solution to this? Either we build bridges back. So when we say, is it time for, building bridges back, what we mean to say is one thing, that either we fight in TV debates, because there is a section of people who say this, who are part of KP community as well, who are youngsters, to be very frank, and who say one thing: you participate in TV debates, you be live on social media, on Twitter, you fight on Twitter, but at the end of the day, if you're not on ground and if you do not interact with the community there, you will never be able to assimilate or be a part of the valley for maybe next 100 to 200 years. It is as simple as that. You can fight as much as possible on Facebook, fight as much as possible on TV debates, but unless and until you interact with the community, maybe with an economic interest, because when there is a win-win situation, only then there is a dialogue, only then there is a talk of development. If you only are engaged in conflict, then either we are talking about a zero-sum game wherein the whole system starts from zero, everything is destroyed, it starts from zero, or we slowly develop ties, economic ties, in terms of entrepreneurs. Here is where I'm coming. Entrepreneurs, economic ties, maybe we do not immediately go and settle there, but we have economic ties. So what does that do? That makes them as partners of growth. And then slowly and steadily, they would feel that, being partners in economic growth is helping them. So that's a win-win situation. So maybe with time, evolution of time, they would eventually welcome us there. But we cannot be expecting that the majority population is suddenly going to evaporate. It is not going to evaporate. It's not going to welcome you unless and until you interact with them. So that is what I am asking you, sir, Kuldeep ji. What is the way out then? I mean, are we talking about a 100-year fight, 200-year fight, zero-sum game? Or are we talking about taking some practical steps, being on ground, interacting with the community, maybe on the economic scale, and maybe, having a win-win situation?
Absolutely, Abhinavji, you have touched a very practical point, the practical aspect of the present situation, I should say. The genesis and yes, we have been the victims. That has been explained very well over the last 3 decades. And that's not going to take us forward much. We have to think in terms of practicality, how to deal with the situation as it is emerging. I would like to re-emphasize 1 or 2 points which the earlier speakers mentioned, is that though the dismantling of the legal problems has been ensured through the notifications on August 6th, I think, or 5th and 6th. And that paves the way for forward movement. But the follow-up has been really lethargic. It has been extremely tardy, which has led most of us to believe that whether the government was probably wanting to go ahead with a cosmetic exercise of meeting the requirement of their manifesto, and about which lots of political and other groups were questioning them from time to time, that you had promised dismantling of Article 35A and 370. And in the first Lok Sabha, they didn't have the adequate majority in the Rajya Sabha, though in the Lok Sabha they had the majority, but they didn't have the numbers in Rajya Sabha. They could not do it. And after they got those numbers also subsequently, it was really difficult for them not to do something about it. And we should not doubt their intentions. Probably they wanted to do it also otherwise. But after that, the follow-up has not been on the lines which we expected. I don't want to comment on individuals, but the exercise of sending a lieutenant governor after the notification, who took, I think, about 7-8 months to issue a notification in the month of May. I think it's more than 10 months in a way. Which should have been an exercise which could have been done in a couple of days or maybe a week, 10 days at the most, if the government would really wanted to ensure the pace of forward movement. Now, even after May, as Sushilji and Ajayji have also pointed out, the process of issuing the domicile certificates has not been really encouraging. It is really catering to the people on ground, though the notification makes it much easier for everybody who has origin of Kashmir to get a domicile. But the present system is really catering, practically on ground, catering to those only who have the state subject certificates. Others have been facing some problem one way or the other. But then again, the domicile certificate which is being issued, it's not answer to the entire problem. It is catering to the requirement of getting a government job. As far as immovable property is concerned, it does not cover that. So again, it is taking government. Now it is over a year since notification was issued last year. Still, the issue of who can own immovable property, whether those of us who have been outside and don't have the state certificates, whether they can own immovable property or not. But that apart, let me focus on the most important aspect of the point which you emphasized, is that practically what should happen. Should we build bridges? Should we interact with them? Should we have economic ties? And should we assimilate? The answer is not a single one of them in the sense, but it has to be multiple. It has to be multiple ways in which we have to approach the issue. Number one, any return at this stage, when the environment is still insecure, will be a premature return. You have seen some of the punches and sub-punches and others who have been targeted individually. So the opponents of the opponents who are the enemies, I should say, or anti-nationals or the radicals, who are not wanting the KPs to return back, and some are in fearing that the return may result in demographic changes also. Now, even just a few incidents will defeat the entire exercise of return, and it will get delayed and derailed totally for maybe for several decades in future also, if not more than that. So the purpose of assimilation or return or being there or being part of Kashmir has to be very well thought of. It can't be an offhand exercise. One of in the present context, when we don't expect that there can be any changes as far as demography is concerned, because that's a very difficult process. And I don't think the government is trying to move fast on that or trying to pave the way for that. I don't think government is much interested in that also, except that some people were made to believe that, yes, it's going to follow. And on ground, nothing really like that is happening. Then the state apparatus is also coming into action to thwart any sort of issues which can result in any sort of demographic changes. But having said so, we have to see how KPs can in the present environment be part of Kashmir. Now, the only way I can think of it is that it has to be a very secure atmosphere, self-contained, self-governed, in the sense not independence, but on the pattern of the hill councils. We do have Gorkhaland Hill Council, we have the Ladakh and Kargil Hill Councils, and within a union territory, also there can be a hill council where where the developmental powers and the powers which are required to keep the community intact, to feel secure and reassured that yes, they can function in a free and competitive atmosphere without fear of life or any insecurity in any other manner. It is not a question of life only, it is the discrimination in jobs, in admission to professional colleges, the day-to-day treatment with a hawker. When I was a young boy, I used to see how many of the hawkers would respond, even auto rickshaw people would respond to people from different communities in a different manner. And what we generally call a second-class citizen. We don't have to land up as second-class citizens, even if there is protection of life. So it's not a question of terrorism only. And by the way, terrorism is also not abating. It is since 2016, it has been on the rise. Last year, there was a little bit of dip. That was mainly because from after the notification was issued, there has been hardly any movement. There have been restrictions, and the terrorists were also not free to move. So it resulted in automatic decrease in incidents. And this year we had COVID restrictions. And this year we have also witnessed some decrease. Not that there has been huge decrease. There has been some decrease in incidents, but the casualties of security forces have been quite high. And if we have a model like that, and where some sort of self-governance which can be given to a council is there, but and beyond that, the law and order, anti-corruption bureau, the revenue, and the all India services for UT of J&K, that will remain under Lieutenant Governor directly, and as long as the Lieutenant Governor is there as a part of as a representative of the central government, I think those things will be taken care of. But other issues are required to be sorted out. And instead of having small colonies scattered at different places, which may not work the way we feel reassured. So I think it has to be an area which can be self which can be self-reassuring for everybody to return and feel as a proud citizen of India. So that's the type of thing we should finally try to achieve and work for. That is my concept of how best we can be part of it. And as far as economic ties are concerned, I don't say that economic ties should not be there. Economic ties have to be built. The government should give encouragement to young entrepreneurs and have a clear-cut industrial policy to attract people from outside to Kashmir and stay there and own properties there as and when they are allowed. And that will also result in Indianization of the state to a great extent. But unfortunately, the previous Lieutenant Governor didn't do much about it. I think he was not moving much outside. I don't want to criticize, but he was not going out of Rajbhavan at all. So things can't be achieved like that, sitting in one room and trying to expect that things will move off their own through bureaucratic orders. It doesn't happen that way.
Sure, thanks a lot. Thank you. Now I would just like Mr. Anil Bhattji to because I know that he the last time he came, he actually really raised our hopes a lot with regards to entrepreneurs. I would just like Sunil Trisalji, if you could just brief because I think he has made a report, because this is for Anil Bhattji especially, so he would respond to this. Within a brief time, sir, if you can just the kind of report for 3-4 minutes, of maximum 3 to 4 minutes, if you could just present it, and then we will go to Anil Bhattji. He will respond to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhinav, and it's really a privilege and honor to be sharing a dice with Sushil Panditji, stalwarts like Dr. Srangu, Shri Kuldeep Khodaji, and definitely Shri Anil Bhattji, and my colleagues Kamal, Sahil, and everybody there who's there. It's an honor, and I really feel sort of a pain also, we call it a Martyrs' Day and Balidan Diwas, and that's what it always reminds us back to the roots and what we had to do. But coming straight to the discussion point and what I've been listening to all of you and we spoke about it. I'm not a political analyst, and probably I see from a corporate or from an entrepreneur perspective. And if I have to take a report card of 370 performance, 370 or abbreviation, where we stand exactly 18 months now, when it was announced in August 19. The first commitments from the whole industry given by Honorable PM about that, there are 10 industries. It has come in the public domain also. From Uday Kotak, from Amul, from Curefit, hotel industry chains. This was the commitment given to upliftment the economical development of the whole state. That was a position given to the whole country from that. And was it a political one? I'm not a right person to comment on that. But from the performance perspective, when we visualize what was given and what was told to what it will do, from that angle of development or the industry setups, we are nowhere there, just close to that. We are nowhere there in terms of the whole thing. Now, coming from the perspective of the community per se, as all of us said, what's a ground reality? Ground reality is simple. As a common man, or KP, or as a simple entrepreneur, if I had to set up a shop today in J&K, how easy it is? It's not easy. Now, we call it, there was a domicile given, there was X factors given, but I don't see at all the ease of entry in that. Forget you as a community or as a KP, or we want to go back to the roots and attach to the motherland. It's nowhere visible as far the intent or the roadmap is being laid vis-a-vis talk about a year back. That's clearly. Let me put a perspective of numbers also on the papers, which again is in a public domain, which is visible to all of us. There is and this it got context to primarily from the startup policy, because as a country, as a vision, we see startups now coming in pan-India, and that's going to uplift the next stage of growth in the country. So we being part of this J&K state being part of the vision again. Now, if I take leap out of that the data now, from 2019 to 2020, in 1 year, there is a federation called Jammu Kashmir Entrepreneurship Development Institute, JKEDI, which I think is a centralized is a machinery which works on giving entrepreneurs the grant and taking as a centralized authority, I would say. Then in 1 year, there was a 22 crores of a seed fund dispersed. That's the number which has been given. And there were 543 enterprises, 538 enterprises, and for 543 entrepreneurs, which was this seed fund of 22 crores dispersed. And to my surprise, when we look at from a KP community perspective, I don't see even a 0.1% KP in that list in a span of 1 year. So now, when we say we have an intent of this 370 is going to uplift the community or the state, that's point number one, where the community fits in this whole, the practical approach, it's quite visible. Now, when we talk of if I talk of the decade from 2010 to 2020, there has been cumulative disbursement of 240 crores and 2695 entrepreneurs and 6782 enterprises. That's again from a public domain. To a surprise, I could not see even 0.1% of KP in the list. It's a forget 1 year or forget. Now there are two data points. One is 1 year after probably the announcement of 373 abrogation, and then a decade. Now that relates it to the intent of the whole process. And for any country, political ideology and the economical development has to go separately. Now, I don't see the intent of economical development per se, which as a community, what Dr. Changu rightly said, see, we have built and we have survived on our own, either because of education, either because of our intellect or our hard work, or at an individual premises. But when we look up to the system, is it a government or is it anybody who's sitting at the top, to give us at this stage, to build us as a community or give us back to where we left? Economical development, economical upliftment is the important aspect. Now I see whole aspect of intent missing in when you relate it from the action perspective. And I give you a very apt example from my own self. I have an intent of setting a shop in Kashmir, or let's say in Jammu for that matter. But surprisingly, we in Jammu, we are at 2G. And we talk about our honorable FM, Nirmala Sitharaman spoke about the policy document of the artificial intelligence, the whole technological in her budget in Feb 2020. Does it translate to J&K perspective, where you don't have a right infrastructure? Forget about the intent part of it. That's point number one. And from a practical aspect, now look at and relate it to the practical aspect of it. That means we still want to give a portion to larger community, which is dominating your 70% of your business. That's export, that's handicrafts, that's tourism. That's more than 80-85% approximately. Anilji will correct me on the right numbers probably. That is the whole which is linking towards what this announcement was and where we are vis-a-vis today and what is the intent. So on the three buckets, you can clearly see, and it's self-explanatory about where we are heading towards it. And to simplify it, I ask simple, an entrepreneur like Sahil Pandita, if he has as a notebook manufacturing, he's a manufacturing facility in Jagti. You ask him how easy it has been for him to open one more in Kashmir. That answers Abhinav itself what was announced, where we are today, what are the numbers speaking, and what is the intent. And the premise here remains, any community or the country will prosper till there is an economical upliftment intent about it. You have China example before you. In spite of a communist ideology, look at the prosperity towards it. Because there is an intent. You got 65% coming from MSMEs. Now, where do we fit in this whole scenario? That's a larger debate which none of us, we are not getting answer towards it.
Thank you, Sunilji, for such such fine description of the whole thing. Now I actually come to Anil Bhattji. Anilji, sorry, I just kept you waiting because I wanted you to hear this because we really want some solutions from your end, and I know that you obviously know a lot of things and you can help us. Anilji, you're on mute. If you could just remove the mute, sir. I would just like to ask you one question. So bearing this in mind, whatever Sunilji has asked, I would just like to ask one question. And the question is, why does government of India not help KP entrepreneurs, KP startups, or any, I'm not saying only about our organization, KP entrepreneurs, global KP entrepreneurs, to set up big business ventures in Valley or Jammu Valley, especially Jammu mein to already hai, in Valley, so that it gives jobs to cross section of community, cross section of society. Why I'm asking you this is because it will create a win-win situation. It will start the economic interaction, and probably going down the line, maybe some years later, we would have some welcome or some position there to get some foothold. Otherwise, fighting, having the same policy, failed policy that we had for 30 years will not help us at all. So either you're just as we discussed. So are we looking why government of India center is not helping us get some foothold in terms of entrepreneurship there? So I don't have to explain you. I know you've understood what I want to say. There is no active encouragement. Why this is so, sir? Thank you, sir.
Namaskar. Godneches ye Shraddhanjali Divasuk Sarni Shraddhanjali Karana Jimanpet. Now I will come back to the moot point. The nowadays point of policy has been economic model on J&K, whether when it comes to the resolutions. You have given so many pages, 80,000 crores, 50,000 crores, 60,000 crores. They are looking in the prism of economic model for J&K. But when Sunilji had himself put one point that in a China, you have an economic model not based on the Communist Party ideology, but as compared to Jammu and Kashmir, it has always a political, religious ideology based on economy. That is the basic crux of the mood. I think Sushilji has put elaborated everything very broadly. Ajayji has, in fact, given the angle of the radicalized ideological political economy of J&K also. But when we come back to the J&K itself and the economic model itself, there are several hiccups too. You have bulldozed, you have destroyed, or you have dismantled the legislative setup of J&K by doing away with Article 370. But to the moot question, it is always a 3-tier, 4-tier system that governs the society. In Jammu and Kashmir, every part, whether it is legislative, whether it is executive, whether it is the third pillar and the fourth pillar, they are working in tandem with each other and they make a structure of Jammu and Kashmir. In the given situation, Article 370 has dismantled one part of it, that's the legislative system. But legislative system always use executive to, in fact, expand their ideological narratives, put up a bureaucracy that is loyal bureaucracy, and execute their own ideological missions with regard to Kashmir. That's why Ajayji has said that it's like a Muslim state on the secular platform of India. Sushilji has also said. In all these 3 or 4 dimensional sectors, they are the part of this system. You have dismantled one system, one part of it. Executive is anybody issuing an order, whether it is the chief minister, it is being actually issued by a commissioner secretary or IASR or KS Bob. So resistance in this post Article 370 abrogation and reorganization of J&K state, the resistance came not from the political establishment as such, it came from the bureaucratic sector. So you have already a loyal bureaucracy that is dictating the terms. Huda Saab said that LG has not done this thing. Even domicile, it took a lot of time. It was virtually the executive system, the IAS Babus, who sat on the file for almost 3 months. And a person had to follow the file of domicile himself from one pillar to post to get it, although he had nothing to do with the domicile at all. That is the system. And in the given situation, you have the executive, whether IAS, IFS, IPS. I will leave the police structure because that deals with the security aspect, less all of them, whether it is the KS Babu or the IAS Babu. They have been doing nothing during all these periods, rather than working on the dictats of the political establishment in J&K. That has been lost. One main example of it is 1993 KS batch. Even for last 20 years, they have been fighting in the court battles up to Supreme Court. But their resolution of seniority has not been fixed, thereby halting the process of IAS induction of the local quota in J&K. Well, you have a 50-50 quota in J&K. You do not want that certain officers from a particular religion will go up and become IAS officers, and they will dictate dictate to the political ideology. So what is happening is some blue-eyed boys, most of them backdoor entrants, have been put above the seniority list of those who have qualified and came through the IAS exams. So that is the point. Simply, Mr. Murmu took a call. He instituted a committee and ensured that happens. But unfortunately, after his exit, the same discrimination, bias, favoritism is going on in the same list, which is landing up in the trouble again, putting to halt the induction of IAS into local cadre. And that is not this thing. It takes 15 years. So when we talk about the economy, unless and until you don't have a new bureaucratic system, you have dismantled the legislative system. You need to dismantle the executive system in Jammu and Kashmir as such. This was the first plan of Mr. Murmu, who forwarded to bring 23 top IAS officers into Jammu and Kashmir by asking the present to get them relieved from the Jammu and Kashmir, so that there will be a new executive setup that will deal with the grassroots level of development in J&K. The similar thing is happening in Jammu and Kashmir. You see, there is more of the seed money given, what Sunil ji has said. Unfortunately, you will see, if you go through 7 to 8 years of industrial scenario in J&K, you will see 34,000 sick units. They are status and all that. They're sick. But how does that has an impact in J&K? Because everything is governed by, there is not a single window per se to say that you go and get land, get those avenues, get power supply, and you come with a money and investment and set up a unit. But that is not happening in Jammu and Kashmir over the period of time. There is a bureaucratic problem in Jammu and Kashmir. Government of India has dealt with the legislative system, but they need to equally do away with this executive. Unless and until that is not happening, you are not going to lead to anywhere. Even if you have much of the economic reforms, you have the much of the economic policies, you push many measures into Jammu and Kashmir, that is not going to have impact in Jammu and Kashmir. That is not going to have a change after Article 370 is abrogated, after reorganization of J&K has been done. you don't have a change at the grassroots level. Let me talk about the domicile. The domicile problem is 17,000 domicile certificates have been issued through offline as far as Kashmiri Pandits is concerned. There is one, when we point out a finger on the administrative setup or executive setup or the government, two fingers are pointing towards us. If you see how many among Kashmiri Pandits have applied for registration, do you know out of 2,170 the application that have been received for registration by the relief department, do you know more than 15,000 are only from the displaced POK refugees, not from the Kashmiri Pandits? Only 500 such applications have been filed across the world by the Kashmiri Pandit only, and out of them 300 have been issued the certificates, registration certificates, because we have not done our homework also. But if a POK JK refugees 1,500 have applied, why Kashmiri Pandits have across the globe have only 500 have applied? And there is an easy process of nothing to do with the Aadhaar, nothing to do with any certification, filling up the form, your original area and its postal address. Postal means your PIN code in Kashmir. There is rest have certain problems in the formation because they have not fulfilled the form as per the. It's very easy to do that, but unfortunately that has not been done by most of the Kashmiri Pandits. In fact, one of the Kashmiri Pandit who got a registration have moved to LG office with a grievance to get him. Now that he has registered as a migrant, now please give me relief.
All right. Thank you.
This is our fault also. Only 500 applications during this period have been applied by the Kashmiri Pandits across globe. But at the same compared to with the POK, GOK refugees, they have done it 1,500.
Sure.
17,000 is your offline registrations, domiciles issue, and almost 500 and something is your offline registration done, plus 200 by the online.
Thank you, sir.
So we need to take a call on that also, that we need to inculcate a sense of sense among the Kashmiri Pandits that please apply in large numbers.
Sure.
So that you get this domicile certificate.
Sure, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot. I would now just like, before we take, some questions from our other members as well as maybe the Facebook, I would just like to ask Mr. Sushil Pandit ji. Sushil ji, hearing all what we have heard from our esteemed, panelists, what is your holistic view of the situation and what is the solution that we are looking at? I will take this opinion from every panelist. So, sir, if you could be brief, but the holistic viewpoint and the solution, the way forward for a solution for our community as a whole. Sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhinavji. I was listening to all the interventions very carefully. And since you want me to address the nub of the issue, the real essence of how it'll make a difference, what is to be done. You see, the litmus test is in the intent, not in what you would like to be seen doing or what you would like to project as you have done by grandiose announcements and self-congratulatory messages. The litmus test is in the sincerity of addressing our issues and engaging with the community in order to first understand those issues. I see this completely missing in the entire decision-making process. I don't know who conjures up these policy initiatives, suddenly from nowhere, some decisions are taken. And then they are thrown at us like crumbs. Be happy. See what we have done for you. And they go completely awry because what impression this gives is that you have a monkey on your back. The nation keeps asking you, what have you done on Kashmir? What have you done for Kashmiri Pandits? So in order to give yourself some elbow room to maneuver, in order to get yourself some approval from those who keep asking those questions, you keep doing some perfunctory things from time to time. And you are not seriously engaged with the community in order to understand what are the expectations, what are the priorities, and how will it all happen. So this piecemeal patchwork kind of approach to let's do this and let's do that will not work. First and foremost, now I would just draw your attention to the fact that even in the domicile notification, we were defined as migrants. I think this is humiliating that 30 years hence, Government of India keeps calling us migrants. And if they take pity, they use the word displaced, as if we are victims of some earthquake or some dam had to be put up and our land was submerged and so we had to be moved. So we are displaced, oustees. We are victims of a religio-ethnic cleansing, which amounts to genocide. There is hardly any acknowledgement of what happened to us. There is hardly any justice to the victims and survivors of this. There is hardly any policy, any thought through comprehensive view on the reversal of our genocide. We just happen to see things in fits and starts, in somebody's whim and somebody's fancy, translating into a stray decision here and there, which is why all these anomalies keep happening. Unless a comprehensive policy, which starts with acknowledging what happened to us, which follows up with commitment to how things are to be redressed, and then which goes on to commit itself in a time-bound manner, how this reversal will be achieved. Unless all this is done, this process will not carry any credibility. I remember on 31st of March when domicile policy was announced, and on 3rd of April, an amendment was announced. I haven't seen in a lockdown when entire government, all private institutions, even airlines and railways are shuttered, such alacrity to move the monopoly of domiciled citizens from level 4 jobs to all jobs. Somebody was obviously pulling the strings, making telephone calls when you couldn't meet personally. And things were moving at a breakneck speed because this needed to be done. So Home Ministry sitting in Delhi in the middle of a comprehensive, complete lockdown was playing at somebody's behest, and we know who that somebody was. We know how that somebody met the Prime Minister and the Home Minister with 24-member delegation, spending hours with them and publicized all over. So if your concerns and priorities are somewhere else, we are mere incidentals in that process. And that is why on 31st of March, when domicile policy was announced, large chunks of Kashmiri Pandits were omitted, were disenfranchised, were dispossessed. And it took Hasib Drabu a mocking article in Greater Kashmir to tell us Go celebrate the August 5 decisions. This is what you deserve. And it took 45 days, and it wasn't the Home Ministry that corrected it, which had originally created this problem. It was the Relief Commissioner in Jammu who sent a clarification. It shows us that we do not count. Somebody could get level 4 jobs elevated to all jobs in 72 hours. And then it took our community 45 days of pleading and begging and petitioning in order to get a corrective done. So we do not count in the scheme of things those who are planning them up and those who are announcing them from time to time. We are only getting what incidentally comes to us, and it is a byproduct of a policy originally meant for someone else. I completely disagree with this domicile announcement. I think it is re-privileging the Muslim majority of Valley and trying to mollycoddle them, please them, and seek their approval. Likewise, kickstarting of democratic process again is trying to recycle the same old discredited and disgusting lot of politicians
Sir,
for the sake of some semblance of order. So
yeah.
I think we need to address the fundamentals and not the issues to be tinkered with in micro
Correct.
level.
Correct.
The big picture needs to be gotten right first and foremost. Do we count? Are we relevant? Do you feel committed, sincerely oriented to what we need? Or are we just incidentals and meant for perfunctory noises from time to time? That's where I am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I would just like to ask one follow-up question before I, move on to, Dr. Ajay-ji. Is that, so what you're saying is take a holistic view, or rather it should come from the very top. So it is not as if, some bureaucracy, it's a bureaucratic problem wherein domicile, it has all been messed up by the bureaucracy, which is completely hell-bent upon creating problems in J&K, and maybe, so what you're saying is it should be coming right from the top of the policy, right from the central government, wherein they are not very clear on what they have to do, and they have not taken the KP community into their confidence. So what you're saying is a piecemeal approach will not help, and there should be a comprehensive, holistic approach to solve this. And for this, do you think that some kind of a KP representation should be taken, some kind of a help? Because what I feel is that there are no KP leaders or community leaders who are actually giving advice or suggesting to the government. Maybe the Jitendra Singh ji was there as a PMO, but to be very frank, there are a lot of people who are not very happy with the way things are going. So in the sense that they feel that a KP should be representing a KP leader, or maybe a group of KP community leaders should be actually helping the government with the exact situation, exact problem, rather than taking help of someone who really doesn't know or maybe who's not very sympathetic to what are we facing, or do you think it is a deliberate thing not to, government knows everything, but they certainly want to overlook all the things, at the end of the day?
Abhinav, you see, there are only two possibilities. A, that they are ignorant, they don't know who the KP leadership is, who's leading the movement for the last 30 years. I refuse to believe it, because from time to time, when parliamentary delegation has to come, suddenly the DivCom knows who to call and who to invite for interaction. When roundtable conferences have to happen, even then when committees form, even then, when people have to be taken to Geneva, to UNHRC, you knew who to contact and who to get. But suddenly you have amnesia, and the home minister finds some lackey who's nobody, who has just met Mirwais, and who has, after meeting Mirwais and other Hurriyat leaders, lands in Delhi, and the home minister gives him audience. The party Prabhari in JNK gives him audience. The organizing secretary, the president of the party in the state, gives him audience. And then on the anniversary of August 5, he says, please restore Article 370.
Okay.
And after doing that, he gets audience with the finance minister. And it is not you running a chamber of commerce, a genuine group of entrepreneurs, for reviving the economy. It is this cardboard cutout who gets the audience with the finance minister to tell her as to what is needed to revive the economy. So, they need probably imposters who would do their bidding from time to time, as opposed to genuinely connect with the established leadership, which everyone recognizes for their work in the last 30 years. So I cannot actually give them this safe passage out that we don't know who to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. This is what I actually wanted to ask. Now I would just like to ask Dr. Ajay ji. Ajay ji, are you there? I believe you can hear me. Ajay ji, you are the chairman of Parun Kashmir, which is there's no doubt about it. It is the pivotal organization of Kashmiri Pandits, which has fought right from the day one for about 30 years for a separate homeland, which, more and more as we move on a daily basis, we feel it's very relevant. And we feel that, because of the way the ground situation is. And so I would like to ask you, sir, in a very brief manner, as to what do you think is the holistic solution, because I'm asking every panelist their views about, after hearing all the views, what is the holistic solution? How should we, what are the way forward? Like, is conflict the way forward, or maybe starting from zero, starting from scratch, everything gets, restarted, rebooted? So what is the way forward? What is the practical way forward? What is the ground situation? Do we require a KP leadership? Maybe, people like you, people like Sushil ji, people like, Kuldeep Khoda ji, who is a great voice for us as well. Very sane voice. Anil Bhatt ji, people like them. Why not to have a community, a group of people like you people, and to suggest to the government as to what should be practically done, not with the people who really don't know what is the ground situation, or probably we don't feel connected to. We feel connected to, people like you. So what is the solution that you propose to the government, sir? Thank you.
See, at the level of Hindus of Kashmir, one thing has to be very clear. We have suffered genocide. Unless the genocide is addressed, no part of our problem will be able to take care of it. So, genocide bill, prevention of genocide bill, which Parun Kashmir has already given it to the government of India. Parun Kashmir prevention of genocide and atrocities bill. We have asked government of India to very clearly adopt this bill as an act, and government of India is bound, because government of India is a signatory to the Convention on Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in the United Nations. It is bound to create a law in India, and it's within this framework of the law our problem can be addressed. Any other framework which does not address the genocide does not address the problem of the Hindus of Kashmir. So we have been insisting government of India continuously for 1 year now that this is the course which you have to follow. Now, not addressing genocide leads to its spillover into the rest of the country. Government of India did not address the Hindu genocide. Its spillover took place into Jammu. And the jihad spilled over to whole of India. And we are in a situation where in the coming months, there are many security experts say that India might have to go through the scourge of a civil war. that type of a situation is happening in the country. The demographic assault on the Hindus in Kashmir was ignored. The demographic assault on Jammu took place, and the demographic assault in many places in India is taking place. In the last assembly election, in which Yogi Adityanath won in UP, one of the first demands was, one of the first political campaign points was that they would not, they have to see to it that they will not allow Kashmir to happen in J&K. They have to see to it that what happened to Kashmiri Pandit does not happen to the Hindus in UP. So from a community point of view, if the issue is not addressed from the perspective of genocide, then it will not be addressed at all. The second thing which I want to tell you with regard to J&K state is that even though the legal structure has been dismantled, the entire governance model of Government of India is what I call as halfway separatist. In this state, nationalism does not have a premium. Separatism has a premium. In this state, peace does not have a dividend. Violence has a dividend. So the entire structure of policy making and governance is based on halfway separatist model. So Government of India is constantly in search of halfway separatists. They are not in search of patriots. They are not in search of nationalists. Amongst Hindus, amongst Muslims, and anybody and everybody in the state who identifies with India is at a point of disadvantage. So unless this basic model changes, what you are saying that we are not being asked, tell me who is being asked? Who is the nationalist who is being asked in this state? If you have the overall overview of the economy of the J&K state, you will find that the people who would like to be with India, people who would like to sustain India, nourish India, who would like to fight separatism, who want peace here, all such quarters of the society in J&K Union Territory, they are at a disadvantage. The problem again at a macro level is Government of India is in search of separatists. It's not in search of what you call as nationalists. It's not in search of patriots. It's not in search of peace. It is in search of violence. Imagine for a moment if Government of India takes up this line, that in this Union Territory of J&K state, wherever there is peace, there will be development. We will invest in those areas where there is peace. You will see the entire dynamics of the situation will change, but they will not do it. So the marginalization of Kashmiri Hindus, the tendency to ignore them is the part of a bigger problem. And what is the bigger problem? Indian state has a policy of hostaging nationalists to the separatists. Unless this policy changes, nothing will change.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Kuldeep ji, would just like to ask you to give your 2 cents on this, sir, after what you've heard as to what is the way forward, sir. Thank you. So you're on mute, sir. Thanks.
Abhinavji, I would largely, broadly and largely agree with what Sushil ji and Ajay ji has mentioned. You know, the basic problems are to be recognized, then we can get a way forward. And how that way forward is to be negotiated depending upon the problems we face on ground or the obstacles we face on ground. That's a matter of discussion and that can follow. But basically, the issues have to be taken head on and addressed. And I'll take the suggestion of Sushilji a little bit forward. It has to be a very comprehensive Kashmir policy if we have to move. And move with the right intent. I would re-emphasize the word intent is very important in any measure we take. It has not to be cosmetic or for the purpose of meeting an obligation of manifesto or projecting a face and then drumbeating it all over the country without actually getting results on ground. Now, Anilji mentioned about just briefly, I just want to touch upon him. I really wonder whether it is just 500 figure which he mentioned that they have applied. In my knowledge, I will tell you, not less than 200 to 300 people who contacted me for it and who tried to apply online for it, they just got rejection feedback only. They didn't succeed. The website is not user friendly. It is vague. It has been designed by some immature person who doesn't know how to design websites, interactive websites, or the user friendly websites. B, it is asking for documents, and besides the rehabilitation commissioner, the people who try to apply directly in their districts, the yardsticks have been fixed locally by different tahsildars in different manners. I know if I get feedback from the people, some tahsildars are asking for documents like affidavits. And as far as Aadhaar is concerned, I'm afraid everybody is asking for Aadhaar card, and most of the KPs who are living outside the country don't have Aadhaar card. Everybody, even on website, the Aadhaar card is being asked. And in the government order, in the government notification, whether it is of 16th May or 18th May, or earlier to that in March, nowhere Aadhaar card is mentioned, but nobody without Aadhaar card can apply. That's of course a different thing, and I really wonder about, I don't blame Anilji for that, but having spent more than, I think I spent 42 years in bureaucracy, if the LG says that he has to do everything single-handedly, incidentally, when I also met him with some more people, he repeated the same thing, that he is doing everything from Raj Bhavan. Now it reflects on the person. I mean, let me admit it. If a person can't move his bureaucracy and doesn't have the hold on the bureaucracy, can't make them accountable, it reflects on the leadership. A leader should be one on whose directions everybody should move, and if somebody doesn't move, she should face the consequences. It's no way a single person at the top cannot do anything without his tools functioning. But that apart, the comprehensive Kashmir policy has to address all issues which have resulted in the present state of affairs. It is terrorism, return of KPs comprehensively addressing their genuine concerns, which all of you have brought out very adequately. Their radicalization, the separatists, the funding which is flowing in, the role of madrasas, temple issue, the issues of governance, the corruption, the ease of doing business, the ease of living. You know, all these issues had to be added, and the neutralizing role of Pakistan, which is an important factor. We did try to do something across the borders, whether it was Uri strikes or later on the Balakot strikes. But one-off strikes is not going to matter. It does affect it, but it doesn't achieve the results. It has to be a consistent and a follow-up, complete follow-up, to the extent that every base of terrorists or terrorism is effectively and irreversibly neutralized.
Thank you, sir.
Unfortunately, we believe in cosmetic exercise. We try to attack across the borders in Uri or Balakot, then we keep on publicizing it without any follow-up action. The sanctions on Pakistan, and Pakistan has to be tackled politically, militarily, diplomatically, and economically at all levels. Then only Pakistan can be put in its place, and that's how we have to aspire for a Kashmir where everybody can live in peaceful coexistence without any fear of ethnic cleansing in future, or migration, or the exodus in future. These all issues have to be dealt comprehensively. If one or things are done at one point of time and some orders are issued depending on a particular feedback from a particular person or a particular group, and it is not a result of well thought of action, then of course the things are not going to work the way they should. And we should then, I mean, let me put it very bluntly, we should then forget about asking the government to do something for the KP community.
Thank you, sir.
Let it be then, let it be made on its own then.
Thanks a lot, Kuldeep ji. the last thing I would now like to go to Anilji as well. Anilji, regarding this, I would just like to ask you one thing is about the Hill Council thing, because it was a very new idea that actually came from Kuldeep ji, Kuldeep Koda sahab, that, with on lines of Ladakh Hill Council or something like that, can we also have an autonomous body? Let us not call it a homeland, because I do understand, there's there are a lot of people who are very sensitive about this word, but let us call it a Hill Council, or maybe whatever council you may actually let us know. And this council would be having autonomous control, wherein autonomous they will be operated by the Kashmiri Pandits, obviously, and they would get separate grants and all those things as a Ladakh Hill Council is getting, because it is the central government has done that in Ladakh. So is it really possible? Or for example, we have got this Amarnath Yatra, wherein this Amarnath Yatra board is not owned, it is not driven by KPs, which is very strange. We do not have KPs who are managing Amarnath Yatra, the Amarnath Yatra Shrine Board, which is done by Kerala Pandits from Kerala, I believe. So, I mean, this is a very small example. So, can't we have some kind of arrangement like this, some kind of a council wherein KPs would be driving and would be responsible for their own development and welfare, wherein we would get funds directly from the central government rather than depending upon the local government in the valley, or maybe a lieutenant governor or anything like that. So is that a pipe dream? I would like to renew this. Is that a pipe dream, or that is possible? Thank you, sir. So you're on mute, sir. You're on mute. Nazar, won't you mute us, bit? Won't you mute us? Now.
Uh, when we talk about the Hill Council like body for Kashmiri Pandits development, we must go to the announcement of the Home Minister, the then Home Minister Rajnath Singh in 2017, who announced in a press conference in Jammu a a development welfare board for Kashmiri Pandits and displaced persons. It is already announced, but Mehbooba Mufti did not implement it on the ground, because it was an idea mooted long back, almost 10 years by us, that we worked, and there is a booklet on Kashmiri Pandit board, because it cannot be council. Council needs the territorial jurisdiction of the area, and we don't have, because we are living in exile. So we thought about an idea of creating a board, welfare board. That idea was discussed at different places. It was by different stakeholders, later on taken to the government. In fact, finally, the two MLCs also took it to the government at that point of time. And finally, it was on 17th, I think, May or something, the Home Minister announced the board. But that remained on the paper. That was a commitment that was not implemented at the grassroots level by the Mehbooba Mufti government. That's why Mehbooba Mufti government Mehbooba did not want that to have, because it will be an apparatus for Kashmiri Pandits for next 1,000 or 10,000 years to come, because they don't want that any kind of constitutional body for KPs to be in Kashmir. That was one moot idea that she derailed that idea and finally did not allow it to happen on the ground. Second is, when we talk about this entire framework, we need to have a full-fledged roadmap for KPs. That is a commitment that Government of India has to reverse the genocide, reverse the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits in Kashmir Valley. When we talk about demographic change, when we left Kashmir Valley, it was a demographic change. When we come back, is it demographic change? The moot idea is that first time I have met number of governors, number of chief ministers, interacted with number of central government entities, whether it is a leadership or even
So you're Anil ji, लगता है freeze हो गया. I think we have got disconnected. Are you there, sir?
Hello.
हाँ जी. You're there.
First time, when I met the
Sir, I would request you to switch off your video. Ocha, he is probably he will rejoin soon. Okay. Are you there, sir?
Yes. When it was further to have met diverse of during my 25 years of journalist career, I have met number of people, diverse people, including chief ministers and governors of. None have I found talked like Mr. Murmu. He had a plan on KPs. He initiated, first of all, I will put it on record, because most of the people will not be able or will not say about it, but I want to put it on record. He opened the gates of Rajbhavan for Kashmiri Pandits. He interacted with the women force. He interacted with all the Kashmiri Pandit organizations, directly or indirectly, and he definitely enacted on a plan. And the first plan was your township. Second plan was your genocide commission. Third plan was your temple board. Fourth plan was your this Devanagari language, and all are still in the pipeline in the bureaucratic process. SCRT was his proposal, and SCRT had gone. Nastalik is on integrated platform. It is with the Commissioner Secretary IT. Things he moved was to reach out to the grassroots level, and he ultimately wanted a new political dynamics in J&K. That's why most of the political leadership, Sushil ji has talked about him, were not against anybody else as such as Mr. Murmu, because he changed 110 laws, including the strategic assets, which was not changed by any of the LG, giving army power to have anywhere assets for the security purposes. When we talk about three fundamental issues that Central will deal, one was the defense. But how come the defense was a state subject in this case? It was that L54 law that was scrapped by Murmu, because people doesn't know 10 months of his work was to, in fact, legally change over the setup. And he was successful in doing that. Besides that, because he was tasked for a different task to become CAG, with the retirement of he was sent basically for 10 months to change over the rules. But fortunately, he tried to put on the platform the Kashmiri Pandit plans. That included the startups and all that also. But unfortunately, that did not happen because of the opposition. He did a lot of things. In fact, if you see your language, which will be dealt by SCRT now, will deal with you were being taught, your elders were being taught from history from Mughal period. It will be the history from Hindu perspective, a Buddhist perspective of Kashmir Valley. As SCERT will take call. Professor Veena Pandit has been the first founder director of that SCERT. Things have been mooted in that direction, but unfortunately, he or the central government has not did not want him, because they wanted to do some political activity in Jammu and Kashmir and hand over.
So again, you're frozen. I would now like to ask. Sure. Anilji, your voice is breaking. We are not able to hear you, sir. Since we have almost finished with this program, I would now just like to request our participants. Sure, sure.
have not been registered as Kashmiri migrants, they should register themselves so that the foothold increases. If we say 3, 4, 5 lakh of population, it can increase to 7 lakh population.
Sure.
So the need is to have a multi-sectorial kind of strategy for Kashmir. There should be changeover in the bureaucratic system. There should be total packaging that includes the investment part of it. But unfortunately, if the smaller states, the baby states like Uttaranchal, Uttarakhand and others can have 1 lakh, 2 lakh crores of investment, Jammu and Kashmir for last 30 years have not been investment more than 20,000 crores or so. Because we have been a cosmetic in nature as far as those industries coming to Jammu and Kashmir have not come with a purpose of investing their money. They have come with the purpose of taking to tax holidays and other holidays and just making putting a assembly unit here and rest not a manufacturing unit at all. If you go to the most of industrial units, Jammu Kashmir, particularly in Kashmir Valley, you have 11 industrial units, and there is no industries at all because they are the barren lands as such meant for the industrial units. Because government of India is not able to actually bring investment to the Kashmir Valley. Things as such after post article abrogation article 370, they try to move the investment. Summits have done in different parts of the country. They wanted to go outside also to get FDI for Kashmir, but unfortunately, Corona and all that was that had delayed it. Most of the time, I think 3, 4, 5 or 6 months have been derailed because of the Corona things. I think the present LG has to take a call. He has reached out to Kashmiri Pandits. He is the first to visit Jagti, meet them. There are proposals of one-man township. There is other proposals of having I think the North, South and Central Kashmiri townships also given by certain people. And there are other splinter organizations which have given their proposals. But over the moot idea that was highlighted was the one township, call it Pan Kashmir or something else. But they wanted to integrate it with the trading zone, then Silicon Valley type industrial zone, then the economic zone, and with a security apparatus township or a city. That would be, in fact, if it will be a board to govern that thing, that will itself be a biggest mechanism for addressing our cause. Because
Sure.
once you see the Pan Kashmir, then obviously there are a number of people who will going to raise voices and all that. But I think for Kashmiri Pandits, the one place settlement, call it Pan Kashmir, is the right thing to do. Because you can't have a skeleton population in a number of places. And if you have to have employment and jobs and all that would be an easier thing to do for the government of India in that direction.
Sure. Thanks a lot, sir. And we're just closing. And before we close, I would just like to ask, Kamal and Sahil both, if you have any questions, because Sahil is a manufacturer, Kamal Wariko is a manufacturer. If you want to address this question to maybe any of the panelists, just one question each. So because we have very less time now, Kamalji, if you want to start, you can. If Sahilji wants to start, any one of you can start and ask your question. Thank you.
Let us start from Jagti only, sir. Jagti is, and since Sahil is being very active, let's start from Sahil.
Namaskar सबको मेरी तरफ से. I am Sahil Panta from Jagti Colony, running a small notebook manufacturing unit. I had taken loan from JKEDI of rupees 12 lakhs from last year 2019. And जैसे कि एब्रोगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 की वजह से कुछ ब्रेकडाउन आ गया है. ऑल्दो मैं एक्सेप्ट करता हूँ एब्रोगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 को, बट स्टिल ये इसका एक बहुत बैड इम्पैक्ट पड़ा है मेरे यूनिट पे. और सबसे पहले मैं जैसा कि सुनील जी ने कहा था कि हम कश्मीरी पंडित्स जो जट्टी के हैं, यूथ्स बहुत ही कम यूथ्स पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं या लोन लेते हैं या बिजनेस के एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप के लिए सोचते हैं। सर उसका एक रीज़न ये भी है कि जैसा कि आप सब देख सकते हैं कि हम सब डिस्प्लेस्ड कश्मीरी पंडित्स हैं। हमारे पास कुछ ऐसा बैकअप नहीं है कि हम एक रिस्क ले सके। बहुत सारे कश्मीरी पंडित्स जाते हैं। जब मैं आपको अपनी बैच की बात बताऊंगा, मैंने 2019 में JKADI से ट्रेनिंग ली थी और मेरे बैच में 6 to 7 कश्मीरी पंडित्स थे। टोटल बैच जो स्टूडेंट्स का था 65 स्टूडेंट्स थे, उसमें 6 to 7 कश्मीरी पंडित्स थे और खाली मैं ही इकलौता जिसका लोन पास हुआ। क्यों? उसका एक रीज़न ये भी था कि मैंने उसके लिए फाइट लड़ा। मुझे 1 साल लगा जितने भी परमिशंस लेने में, चाहे वो JDA डिपार्टमेंट हो गया, म्युनिसिपल डिपार्टमेंट हो गया, कोर्ट, हाई कोर्ट हो गया, पोल्यूशन डिपार्टमेंट हो गया, पावर डिपार्टमेंट हो गया, तो सब ये फाइट नहीं लड़ पाए क्योंकि हर किसी की फैमिली प्रॉब्लम्स रहती है। जैसे कि मेरे फादर भी एक प्राइवेट जॉब करते हैं, अब कोरोना की वजह से उनकी भी जॉब वो छूट गई है, तो हर किसी को अपना घर चलाना पड़ता है सर। उसकी वजह से हम जो कश्मीरी पंडित हैं सब जॉब की तरफ भागते हैं rather than हम कि एक रिस्क ना ले, बिजनेस की तरफ ना मुड़ के, क्योंकि हमें पता है कि अगर हमें कोई भी सेटअप यहाँ पे जम्मू एंड कश्मीर में स्पेशली खड़ा करना है तो हमें 1 से 2 साल तो कहीं नहीं गया है कि उसके पीछे भाग दौड़ में, क्योंकि हमारे पास कुछ ऐसा सिस्टम नहीं है, ऐसी कोई न्यू पॉलिसी नहीं है कि जिसकी वजह से हमें सारी परमिशंस या जिसके लिए हम डिमांड भी करते हैं सिंगल विंडो अप्रूवल, ऐसा कोई सिंगल विंडो सिस्टम नहीं है कि सब हमारी परमिशंस या सब स्कीम्स हमें एक सिंगल काउंटर पे मिले। ये एक हमारा एक बैकड्रॉ है हमारे जम्मू एंड कश्मीर गवर्नमेंट का, जिसकी वजह से हम कश्मीरी पंडित्स पार्टिसिपेट नहीं कर पाते हैं ऐसे भी JKADI के किसी भी बैच में या कोर्सेस में। एक रीज़न ये है सर। दूसरी बात सर ये है, मेरे पास कुछ आइडियाज़ हैं जो कि हम सोच सकते हैं कि जिस फॉर द बेटरमेंट ऑफ द सोसाइटी सर, जैसे कि क्यों ना हम स्किल डेवलपमेंट कोर्सेज, एज बिफोर 2014 हमारे इंडिया की स्किल पॉपुलेशन लेस देन 2% थी। सो मोदी जी ने स्किल डेवलपमेंट कोर्सेज यहाँ पे हमारे इंडिया में लॉन्च किए, बट हमारे माइग्रेंट्स कैंप में ऐसे कोई स्किल डेवलपमेंट सेंटर नहीं है। चाहे आप जट्टी कॉलोनी ले लो, चाहे आप मुठी का कॉलोनी ले लो, चाहे आप पुरखू कॉलोनी ले लो, चाहे नगरोटा कॉलोनी ले लो, जितने भी कश्मीरी पंडित कॉलोनी है, कोई भी स्किल डेवलपमेंट कोर्सेस यहाँ पर नहीं है। क्यों ना हमारे माइग्रेंट कैंप में हम कुछ ऐसा इनिशिएटिव ले कि स्किल डेवलपमेंट सेंटर्स यहाँ पे प्रोवाइड कर सके। क्यों ना कुछ हम ऐसे कोचिंग सेंटर्स यहाँ पर स्टार्ट करें जहाँ पर हम जो हमारे सिविल एस्पिरेंट्स हैं, क्योंकि जैसा कि हम सब जानते हैं कि अगर हमें IAS के लिए, KS के कोचिंग्स के लिए भी जाना है या सिविल एग्जाम्स की कोचिंग्स के लिए जाना है, नॉर्मली 60,000 to 1 लाख रुपीज सर उसकी फीस रहती है, और हर कोई कश्मीरी पंडित इतना कैपेबल नहीं है कि वो फीस वो दे सके, राइट। सो हम क्यों ना कुछ एक ऐसा इनिशिएटिव ले, चाहे वो KP स्टार्टअप ले, चाहे वो हम गवर्नर से मीट करके, या चाहे हमें सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से के पास जाना पड़े, क्यों ना हम कुछ ऐसा एक सेटअप बनाए कि ये स्किल डेवलपमेंट कोर्स सेंटर भी रहे और सिविल एग्जाम्स कोचिंग सेंटर भी रहे, और इवन की सिलाई सेंटर्स हो गया, ब्यूटिशियन कोर्स हो गया, जैसे कि हमारे घर में वुमेन्स है जो भी इंटरेस्टेड, वो उनमें से भी कुछ हमारे जैसे माँ है, बहनें हैं, वो भी इंटरेस्ट रहती है कि घर बैठ के वो भी फ्री टाइम में कुछ काम करना चाहते हैं, तो हम क्यों ना उनके लिए कुछ इस तरह के सिलाई सेंटर्स या और भी जैसे ब्यूटिशियन कोर्सेस हो गए हम जट्टी में प्रोवाइड करें, या बहुत सारे माइग्रेंट्स कैंप में ये सब प्रोवाइड कर सके। और सबसे बड़ी बात है एट द एंड कि हमें एक हम क्यों ना एक ऐसा ग्रुप बनाए, कम्युनिटी ग्रुप, जिसमें हम यूथ्स भी हो, हमारे वुमेन्स भी हो, और बहुत सारे बाहर हमारे आउट ऑफ स्टेट के भी हो, और इवन कि हमारे जट्टी से भी हो। क्योंकि सर जब भी कोई ऑफिशियल्स मीटिंग्स होती है, जैसे गवर्नर साहब के पास मीटिंग्स रहती है, जैसे कोई दिल्ली में मीटिंग्स रहती है, मैंने एक चीज नोटिस किया है, जट्टी से बहुत कम लोग पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं, और वही लोग पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं जिनको हमारे रिलीफ डिपार्टमेंट जानते हैं या हमारे गवर्नमेंट ऑफिशियल्स जानते हैं। बट अगर हम कुछ ऐसा एक कम्युनिटी ग्रुप बनाए जिसमें हमारे जो माइग्रेंट के ग्राउंड लेवल पे, जो सर 20 साल से, जैसे मैं 20 साल से रह रहा हूँ, मुझे जट्टी की सारी प्रॉब्लम्स के बारे में मालूम है, मैं इसको अच्छा एक हाईलाइट कर सकता हूँ। मेरे जैसे ही बहुत सारे यूथ है उसको अच्छा हमारे जो प्रॉब्लम्स है उसको अच्छी हाईलाइट कर सकते हैं, और जेन्युइन प्रॉब्लम्स, ना कि पानी की प्रॉब्लम, ना कि राशन की। हम उसके सपोर्ट में बिल्कुल नहीं है कि हम ये नहीं बोलते हैं रिलीफ बढ़ाओ या हमें 24 घंटा पावर दो। हम ये बोलते हैं कि हम कैसे एम्प्लॉयमेंट क्रिएट करें, हम कैसे कुछ अच्छा कोर्सेज प्रोवाइड करें, चाहे वो स्टूडेंट्स हो, चाहे वो हमारी माँ बहनें हो, और इवन कि चाहे हमारे जो एज हमारे फादर साहब हो गए, अंकल साहब हो गए हैं, उनके लिए भी, सो दैट कि हर किसी को काम मिले।
Thank you, Sahil. Thank you for all the suggestions. I know this was, it is very important to give people a voice, people like Sahil Pandita a voice. And since we have this August gathering, some or other person would certainly, take note of this. Anil Bhatt ji is there, Kuldeep ji is there, who are there in Jammu. They would certainly take a note, and they would help, obviously, the Jagti, all the suggestions they will take care. And before we close, Sunil Trisal ji had something to say. Sir, in very brief, sir, within next 2 minutes. That's it. Thank you.
I think with due regards to everyone, so all of have already touched upon that very aptly in terms of that the right intent and address of where it started, the addressing of the right genocide that we have gone through and set up a framework. But this is what we again come to the conclusion of what we are expecting from the government. But I would see from as a community also, where we also need to mobilize see, we cannot be always now at a mercy of, now 30 years we have seen the phase. Now do you want to move ahead this for another decade, or do our children after 10 years, my son will forget this, that who we are. Now how do we mobilize it? The solution probably I have, maybe it's vague, but with experienced people and personalities with all of you. So we need to have an economic internal framework to mobilize it. It's a fund mobilization. It's not, we are not capable. Globally across, we have billionaires. We have Kashmiri setting up billionaires. That's one missing part which I feel can mobilize a lot of stuff. As we rightly said, are we important? Are we important in the frame of the government or anybody? See, tomorrow anybody will come. Today it's BJP, tomorrow somebody else will come. At the same time, while we are expecting a framework from the governments to come or fall back and move in the stepwise framework, but at the same time, we have to move our community and mobilize this from an economical perspective. If we could arrange 100 crores. It's not a big fund. If we have 100 crores in the pocket, or we have that fund mobilized in the pocket, and who leads it, that's a different question. How we lead it, that's a different. If we have that economical, see, we have been running on the intellect of education too. Today we have resource, we have the money. We are not the same Kashmiri we left it 30 years back from Kashmir. I'm not the same. I'm a Kashmiri, but I'm not the same guy. We can spend and we can mobilize it very, very strongly. So that's one important larger perspective. I feel as a non-political analyst, or probably not experienced in a way, from that reality of how the things will move. Economic will have a critical role to play. Now, how do we move the internal? Is it we networking? Today we network. We are 9 guys. That's a step one. Now, how this net 9, 10, 20 people will make up to 10 crores? Are we making the difference to Sahil Panta? Are we giving him 1 crore? Then the value will come to Sahil Panta. Otherwise, he will see, he will again leave it to the mercy of the government. So tomorrow he wasted 1 year. So as an intellect, as a community, we have intellect, we have brains. Now we have money also. Maybe we will not have the political power today. But yes, if that intent, it will move today, maybe in 5 years, 6 years, at least our children will have that pathways to how to fight it out. Tomorrow, maybe my son will say, if I go to Kashmir, there has to be reason to that. So if that aspect we move as a globally, that is the larger victory side I see. In only waiting to governments come and governments to go, and we always leave. We lose in the political will of the governments coming and moving. That's
Thank you, Sunil ji. Kamal ji, just 1 line or 2 lines, please, because then it's already very late now. Thank you.
First of all, I have a very simple question, because we have been hearing patiently from last 35 to 36 years, every senior member of our community, because my age is also 36 now. मैं आप सबसे एक सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ, एज अ वेरी वेरी हम्बल क्वेश्चन, to Anil ji, to Sushil ji, to Ajay ji, to Kuldeep ji, and to the respected panels which we have. Sir, do you believe that whatever has to be done for the community, the importance is that हमारी जो generation है या हम हैं, वो
Kamal ji, your voice is breaking.
के state में should be down in one of the other respect. अगर यहाँ एक मजबूरी है, तो कश्मीर में कश्मीरी पंडित के लिए रहना एक मजबूरी है, चाहे उसके पेरेंट्स की वजह से, चाहे उसकी इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन की वजह से, चाहे उसे वर्क इनएक्सपीरियंस की वजह से, तो ये ना पॉलिटिकली सॉल्व होगा, ना ये थ्योरेटिकली सॉल्व होगा, ना ये प्रैक्टिकली सॉल्व होगा, क्योंकि हम एक दूसरे को के साथ डिस्कनेक्टेड हैं बिकॉज ऑफ हिस्ट्री, ज्योग्राफी, सिविक्स प्लस प्रेजेंस और पास्ट और फ्यूचर को हम बिल्कुल डिस्कनेक्ट कर चुके हैं. जो आपके लिए करेक्ट है वो मेरे लिए करेक्ट नहीं है, जो अभिनव जी के लिए करेक्ट है वो मेरे लिए कनेक्ट नहीं हो सकता है, बिकॉज वी आर एवरीवन इज सीइंग दिस कश्मीरी पंडित कॉन्सेप्ट इन देयर ओन एंगल, बट द एंगल इज दैट दे आर ग्रोइंग ए ट्री जिसका फ्रूट उगने वाला है, निकलने वाला है, बट उस फ्रूट को खाने वाला, उस शैडो को लेने वाला और उस पेड़ से ऑक्सीजन लेने वाला कोई भी फ्यूचर का बंदा, फ्यूचर का बच्चा इस जेएंड के स्टेट में नहीं रहने वाला है. आई रिक्वेस्ट एवरीबडी, इफ because time is less, I request everybody to conceptualize this and please answer this question, a big question, to us in an email to Abhinav ji so that we can understand कि होने क्या वाला है. मैं अपनी तरफ से अपने परसेप्शन से सोचूं, आप अपने परसेप्शन से सोचूं कि गलत है. पिछले 3 साल से कोई भी एंटरप्रेन्योर जो जेएंडके में है, खास तौर पे कश्मीरी पंडित, they have wasted their lives. There is nothing for a future of an Kashmiri Pandit in J&K. This is fact. Until unless we really struggle together. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kamal ji. It's very important to hear these voices. Sushil ji, Ajay Chungu ji, Kuldeep Khoda ji, Anil Bhatt ji. Thanks a lot, sir. You, because of people like you, we have a lot of hope. That a very sensible, very logical, very experienced and very dedicated leaders like you who are taking the flame on, who are carrying the burden of the community on their shoulders, and who are interacting with the world media about it. Otherwise this would have been forgotten long time ago. Chunguji, it was very nice to speak to you, sir, about the great organization that you have and that we all have, that is Panu Kashmir. Thanks a lot, Kuldeep ji. Kuldeep ji is a very moderate person, and I really like the way he speaks, the kind of suggestions that he actually gives us every time. Anil Bhatt ji, as always, thanks a lot, sir. And Sushil ji, thank you, sir. And thanks to all the participants who have shared their time. Thank you, sir. Have a great day, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mala. Thank you, Mala.